Hi, I'm Alison Bell, Director of Learning Centers for Lindamood-Bell. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. What inspires us at Lindamood-Bell is our students. I'd like to share a few of their stories with you.
My daughter Tallulah is 7 years old and we're in Australia. Tallulah is a fantastic kid. She has always been so bright and funny and interested in people and conversation. Her verbal capacity has always been huge. She's a great kid to bring up. I guess because she was very verbal from when she was very young, we just assumed that she would be fantastic at school. The grade 1 teacher at the time called me. I said to her, I'm having some troubles taking Tallulah to school. She was crying in the morning at school. I just said to the teacher, you're going to have to work out what's going on. You have to help me work out what's going on. And she rang me a few days later and she said, I've done some tests on Tallulah. I think she might have dyslexia. That's why my bright, competent, social, confident, amazingly gifted in terms of her vocabulary child can't read. Our educational psychologist recommended Lindamood-Bell, and when I first heard about it, I have to say I was very sceptical. When I heard about the intensity of the contact, I was very reluctant. I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. I'm working, my husband's working. We just can't manage that. It's too much of an interruption on our family life, and it would be too much on her, was what I was primarily concerned about. But as I looked into it more and read the research articles and spent time on the internet, and I actually got to speak to a family that was going through Lindamood-Bell themselves, and they absolutely raved about it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a first-hand experience of it. I wanted to know that it worked for real people like myself and my family. And so I thought, let's invest this time and money in an intensive way and take a gamble and see if it works. And if it does work, it'll bridge the gap from where we are now to where we want to be in terms of her reading, and hopefully the rest will just take care of itself. And that's what happened. She just ran up the stairs, skipped in, so happy to be here, looked at me with a big smile on her face and said, "See ya, I'll see you tonight." And I just thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be really good. So Seeing Stars is about, I guess it's about showing children how to visualise in their head words and what they look like and then what they sound like. So words and sounds and combinations of sounds. That's my understanding of Seeing Stars. I distinctly remember coming in for my first consultation on the Friday. So she started on the Monday and everything was fine, and every time we picked her up she was great, she was fine. She was a little bit tired but nothing overwhelming, so that tension was eased from our point of view, and we were confident that she was enjoying herself, and we waited to see what would happen in that first Friday consultation. So I went in and I watched her work with the teacher for the first time. And it's still emotional now, because I remember I distinctly remember sitting there thinking, my daughter couldn't read on Monday and now she can read. It was just, sorry. I was so proud of her. And I was so pleased that we had made the sacrifice that we had made, and so relieved that it turned out to be the right choice. 5 days, yep. She took a final assessment and the results were just incredible, just more than what I had hoped for. She was reading at age level, which was just, just something that we just never thought was possible given the experience that we'd had the year before and for the half a year of school that we had before we started Lindamood-Bell. And that gap that I was talking about earlier has really been jumped, and when we did the assessment, we showed our individual needs teacher at the school that Tallulah is at, and she said, looking at Tallulah now, in terms of her comprehension and her reading ability, I wouldn't even see a dyslexic profile. So yeah, it's just been, she said to me, whatever you did last year, whatever intervention you did last year has just really stood her in great stead to be at the point that she is now, and we can just move forward. Doing Lindamood-Bell has changed our life. It's changed our family's life.
And I asked her one day, why does Lindamood-Bell feel like the place for you? And she said, because they know how to teach my brain. Brooklyn is just this light, just this person that is so kind and so empathetic and so challenging. She's incredibly bright. She's a sponge that just gathers information from all the areas that feel comfortable to her. I knew that she was struggling. I knew that she was having trouble finding focus. She just was really spending a lot more time on her own. The way that the academics were presented at her other school were they just were not resonating with her at all, and I didn't really know why. It must have been a really frustrating year for her, especially her last year. because she wasn't able to keep up with her peers. And so I have a friend actually who's a behaviorist, and I asked him to sit in on her class, and he did. And he is the one that asked me if I had ever heard of Lindamood-Bell, and I said I had not. And so he recommended that I bring Brooklyn simply just for the testing. And that was really my plan, was to bring her to have her tested so that I could figure out what school to send her to in the fall.
When we first met Brooklyn, this was a little girl, very, very bright, and she was significantly struggling with her reading. In fact, she avoided anything and everything having to do not only with reading, but even learning letters, and that even transitioned over into learning numbers as well.
She really was considered illiterate.
When we assessed her sight words, she had a score of 5 out of up to 200 words that she could have read, and that put her below the first percentile and below the first grade level. Again, a distinct area of concern.
While we offer both online and in-person instruction, they chose the in-person option for the Lindamood-Bell Academy.
I would say that the biggest difference for Brooklyn, being able to be a Lindamood-Bell Academy student versus a more traditional program, is that she gets one-on-one attention. I was concerned about what the content might be in the Academy program. They're expanding so much on with the history and with the science. They're able to make it all so interesting and exciting for her. And now she's worked through second grade work and is doing now third grade work and keeping up with what that curriculum would be.
So after doing some instruction in Seeing Stars, we reassessed Brooklyn, and what we found is her word attack went from the 2nd to the 68th percentile, or essentially from the skills of a first grader to approximately a 5th grade equivalency, which is remarkable. When we reassessed her sight words, she went from knowing 5 words to 76 words.
This is her first year here doing the Academy at Lindamood-Bell. Even this many more months in now, 6 months into Academy, she wakes up in the middle of the night to read. She reads full chapter books now by herself. And so now she's just growing so tremendously because she reads all about the earth and volcanoes and science and animals and the facts that the knowledge that she's can gain because she can read. I wish that every child that I know, that Brooklyn knows, could come here. I have so many friends who, when I talk with them about Brooke's experience at Lindamood-Bell, I say, oh gosh, that sounds like my child. That's what my child needs. I didn't want to change who she was. I just really needed to find a program that would support her.
Thank you for joining us today on our journey to change the lives of students around the world.